Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in the chat can hear me, just push 1. All right, we got a confirmation from everyone in the chat. Thank you for the confirmation. I had some technical difficulties that I had to attend to. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 386, Black Tech Talk. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. If you're trying to get into IT for the first time, we do offer IT mentorship. If you're going from one IT role to another, we do offer IT coaching to help you make that transition. We offer resume reviews as well as salary negotiations. If you are in the tri-state area, Nagona 11 has recs on the table for contracts in IT, lucrative contracts. So I'm sorry for the delay. I had a technical issue I had to attend to. So let me get into why we even having this talk tonight, because Mike Shinnery actually brought this up, but I've heard this from other subscribers as well, that they're looking to get out of the help desk role and into a different role, more complex role. And so because of that, what I decided to do is to have this live stream tonight about this. I think this is a very common topic about just getting into IT and stuff like that. And I think what happens here is people who get into the help desk role, that's always the entry level point for getting into IT, and they get comfortable with it because it's a repetitive task, and they actually enjoy the work, but the pay never increases, at least not substantially enough for them to remain in that role. So what to do if you get into that position? If you're in a position where you're in help desk for more than, let's say, 18 months to 2 years, let's say 2 years roughly, that's usually about the average time for a help desk person anyways, you have to ask yourself, what is it that, what is your passion? What drives you in the position that you're in right now? What ambitions do you have, right? If you want to get out of that help desk role, you have to figure out, am I a hands-on person, or am I the, the hands-off person, the more logical, managerial, architect sort of role? And so because of that, if you don't really have that, if you haven't really asked yourself those questions, it's going to be kind of difficult to get out of that role. Because even if you do get out of the role, you don't want to get placed into something that, that is not your passion or is beyond your scope of skill. And so the way how I see it here is this. Most help desk people, in my experience, get out and they go do some either field engineer work, or they go out and they do some network engineer work. That's very common in the IT world. Let me wrench up game. Also, if you want to engage in this discussion, there'll be a link in the chat for you to click on. When you click on the link, make sure you raise your hand so that one of us can acknowledge you and advance you to the panel. So getting back to the point that I was making, that help desk has many outlets and branches that you can enter into. So let me pull up CompTIA's diagram, because I think it's actually a good diagram. All right, share my screen real quick. So this is the CompTIA career pathway, and let me advance gig. So this is the CompTIA career pathway. You know, find the right path for you, right? So A+ is usually, and most notably, around help desk and desktop support. This pathway is kind of leading into something that's very common. So common path. So most help desk people end up in something like networking, right? I talked about that a few seconds ago. Network administration, network support analysts, usually working in the data center, maybe overnight. Overnight people getting paid more money than daytime shift people do, because it's graveyard shift. So yeah, network admin, network analyst, data center support tech, very common trajectories for somebody coming out of help desk. Usually if you spent at least a year of time in help desk and you've mastered that, that's usually the trajectory. Or you may become a server admin in some places, depending on what, how big the place is in terms of volume, how many systems they're running, how many people how many users they have on their network, and so on and so forth. That will determine it as well. So the pathway says Security Plus. Security Plus is usually just the general security certification. This is kind of like a tepid security certification. You can get that, but it doesn't denote that you're ready for IT security. And the pathway leads up here to infrastructure pathway. Linux Plus, Server Plus, Cloud Plus, right? Linux Plus, Network Plus, those two are going to come hand in hand, mostly because 70% of your servers and networks are running Linux. Network Plus does cover a lot of primer about the network infrastructure that you're going to run into. Basic nominal stuff that you should know from a knowledge standpoint will be on the Network Plus exam. So if you got your Network Plus, or you're getting or you're going from the A+ to the Network Plus, some people will argue that, well, you should just go get your CCNA. Well, that might be true, but if you haven't messed with any Cisco equipment, you can't really pass that exam without actually using Cisco equipment at some point in time. You can kind of study the knowledgeable stuff, but the performance-based questions, you're gonna fail. It's just that simple. If you haven't executed any sort of network administration on a Cisco router or switch, you're not gonna pass that exam. No way. At least not now with the new exams. You're never gonna pass that. So let me see if we're going to try to get on. No. And so that's the sort of trajectory for a help desk person getting out of help desk 1 or 2 and trying to get into something more challenging. So Network Plus, go for Network Plus, go to Linux Plus or Server Plus, right? I have all of these that's on this that's on the infrastructure pathway, as well as the ones prior to it. My position here is that if you know that you're going to have an opportunity down the line to kind of move out of that help desk role, you should be having these one-on-ones with your manager about what it is that your future is going to entail either at that organization or outside of it. So let me also make sure I put this in the, bring this up as well. Yo, what's going on, Gabe?
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much, man. Not much, man. You have anything you want to add to this while I look for this stuff?
Yeah, I saw some of the those certifications, definitely for those CompTIA ones, kind of towards that Network Plus versus the CCNA. I find I see someone also in the chat kind of talking about that, leaning towards the CCNA over that Network Plus. I know you mentioned about the performance-based questions. Cisco, they offer like a simulation software that I use as I was studying for that particular certification, which allows you to kind of lab up like any type of network with switches and routers and all different types of cabling, and you can actually run commands right in there. So for when I had got the CCNA, I only used what the simulation software called Packet Tracer. I only use that, and I was able to pass all of the routing and switching. And the CCNA, it's not super duper heavy as it concerns the performance-based questions. There is some of it in there, but it's kind of like just show run commands, which allow you to get a better understanding of, hey, what's talking to what is, how are things connected, or what is your network scheme. So for those kind of on the fence about it, I know I lean towards CCNA, but Network Plus is up there too. Those two kind of compete against one another from what I understand. So, yep.
Yeah. How long ago did you take the CCNA?
Probably maybe about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, they made some changes to it as of recent.
Yeah, those changes go into effect 2020. But
yeah. So anybody who's here now, looking to get their CCNA, those changes will be made. So keep that in mind that the books that you buy now may only suffice so much. I'm glad you brought that up. About packet tracing and stuff. I almost forgot about that. The reason why Network Plus used to be a primer for CCNA. They stopped doing that years ago.
Yep.
And I think because CompTIA really wasn't keeping pace with their certifications as it related to the CCNA. But the CASP, the CASP Plus, does keep pace with the CCNA. So that's a little bit different, but that's at the high end of certifications. Right. Network Plus is just a really, really good primer for those who don't know anything about networking and are very curious about it. So you don't want to waste your money on a Cisco certification and you haven't even touched any Cisco equipment. Now, that being said, I always recommend Network Plus so that people get a better understanding of the fundamentals, because the new certification does reflect a lot of modern activity as a network analyst or a network admin to an extent. I want to say that it's probably it's more of a confidence booster. If you can pass a Network Plus, you'll probably walk into a CCNA feeling better about yourself rather than not ever taking a Network Plus and then going and trying to take the CCNA and being 50-50 on it or not so sure about yourself. Yeah.
It's kind of when I took it, definitely it will test you because they had the full CCNA certification exam, but I actually broke it up into the two because they have the ICND 1 and the ICND 2. So I actually divided the subject matter between the two, which kind of, like you were mentioning, kind of builds up confidence as you go forward. So I wasn't getting all the information, but just as you mentioned there in January, like the new CCNA is going to include everything. So it's not going to be half as easy. So definitely we're getting those network fundamentals. Definitely I would look at Network Plus first before you jump into something that's vendor specific, like a CCNA or Juniper or Palo Alto certification. So
yeah. Palo Alto certifications, you got to have the Palo Alto equipment to actually understand it as well. Indeed. Juniper, 1 out of the 4 places that I've worked, actually Juniper, I don't see
it's super international. They're international, man. Like in Europe, they use a lot of Juniper equipment.
Yeah.
So here in the US, I don't see them very often.
Yeah, Cisco is like IBM, right? Nobody ever got fired for buying IBM, and no one ever got fired for buying Cisco equipment. So it's just one of those things. Yeah. So to that point, that trajectory path, coming from the help desk, A plus, network plus, server plus, Linux plus, if you can. I'm not a big fan of Linux plus only because the cost. And let me show you why I'm not a big fan of it. I think that who's trying to get on? Give me one second.
Yeah, because kind of even to that point, man, that's another thing that people should consider before getting all these certifications is that, hey, are you going to be able to keep up with the management costs for the certs? Because after so many years, some have annual costs, or every 2 or 3 years you have to pay a renewal fee. So people should definitely make that consideration before they go forward, or even as they're transitioning to different roles, negotiate that into your compensation package. To say, hey, listen, I got these certifications. I'm a lifelong learner. Hey, does this role help me to renew and to maintain my certifications? That's a good talking point for interview.
Yeah. CPEs matter. Attending events, doing webinars, getting that 1 CPE there, 5 CPEs. That stuff matters when you attend these conferences and whatnot. So that's how you kind of keep up your certs. If I remember correctly, I think for Network Plus, I think you need like 48 or 50 CPEs every 3 years or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And I think for like Security Plus, I think it's like 55 CPEs. For CAS, I think it's something like 68 CPEs every 3 years. So, or you have to take another certification that will progressively advance the CPE count. So, so speaking of Linux Foundation training, Cyber Monday training, and certification sale. So this is still going on until Tuesday. So you guys, if you're trying to get out of that help desk role and get into the SysAdmin role, this Linux system administrator certification. I've talked to people who have taken this. This is no joke. This is the real deal. If you can pass the certification, you can do your job. That's how they see it. Same thing with Linux networking and administration, LFCE. So Linux Foundation Certified Linux Engineer. This is the big stuff. These are the guys who configure firewalls and ifconfig, network stacks, stuff like that. So I would definitely look at this. I would get the certification now. They're good for a year. Let me click on it. I'll drop the link in the chat. So this is good for 12 months. So from December until December 2019 until December 2020, you have enough time to take the certification. 50 to 60 hours of course material, hands-on labs and assignments, video content, and they also have discussion forums as well. I think they have a Slack channel you can get on there, if I remember correctly. The course outline, course introduction, Linux file system, tree layout, processes, signals, package management systems, RPM, DPKG, Yum, Zipper, APT. So there's 44 chapters on here. I recommend 1 chapter a week or 2 chapters a week if best. Don't try to kill yourself taking certifications. Leave some personal time for yourself, man, to kind of recoup. Spend at least 90 minutes a day just brushing through reading and stuff like that. Get yourself acclimated with what's going on, so you're not walking in dumbfounded. I know some people say, Asians, spend 4 hours a day, studying. I'm sorry, but working class adults just don't have that kind of time. Take that 90 minutes, in your day, and just kind of brush through stuff, man. You got a whole year to take this. So, and it's a free retake too, if I remember correctly. Let me see. Yeah, there's a free retake with this. So if you fail it, they do give you a free retake. I think you got to wait 30 days or something like that. So let me drop this in the chat. We got Mike on the panel, man. What's going on, Mike?
Hey, how you guys doing? Can you hear me?
Chilling, fam, chilling.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I did want to throw in there for those people that end up, if you get the CompTIA certs and you end up not getting enough of the experience, I guess the experience points, the continuing education points, they do have for, I want to say, I believe it's just those three, the A+, Net Plus, Security Plus. They have a cert program. It's like a course that you can take. It's usually between 4 and 6 hours. It's a 1-day course that you can take for renewing your certifications.
Is that government or is that?
No, it's through CompTIA, but it's I think it's Cert Plus. What is it?
Oh, it's on the Cert Master Pro. I think that's what they call it.
Yeah, Cert Master Pro. They'll let you take that's what I have to do with my Security Plus. Because I haven't been able to attend a lot of conferences or anything like that. So I'm gonna take the 1-day course, which will renew my Security Plus and in turn my Net Plus and A Plus. So
yeah, what was your if you had to go for another certification, what would be your next certification?
I'm actually, like I said, I'm actually doing this, trying to go into the system admin role. So I'm thinking right now I want to do a couple of the Microsoft courses.
Yeah, Azure.
Like was it MCSA, stuff like that.
Well, they don't even call it that anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking into that, or I'm learning Linux on my own right now. And I'm doing at work, I'm training with my actual server team. A couple times a week, I can go in there for an hour or two and work on our actual system on our network, so that I can get some hands on. And I'm learning the Linux on my own, and then I'm going to convert and learn the PowerShell, so that it converts over to the Microsoft side, so I can know the Linux servers and the Microsoft servers.
Yeah, make sure you download something called Notepad++.
Yep, I got it.
Yep, I dump all my code up in there, or my command line stuff right up in there. It structures it all out, man. Even for stuff like regex, I use it for that as well. PowerShell stuff, I use it for that as well. So that actually helps out tremendously. I should actually drop that link in the chat as well. But let me go over these Azure certifications, because you brought up Microsoft, but Microsoft has these Azure certifications. This is going to get you into that MCSE role, MCSA. So Microsoft Azure administrator. I think that's the entry level of their cloud certifications. So, and then you have planning and administering Microsoft Azure for SAP workloads. You don't really need that unless you're working with SAP, but definitely get the 103, AZ 103. But let me go over that.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that, because we do use the Azure now for a few of the things that we have, like our iPads. And I mean, we can access all the computers, but only higher level admins use the full power of Azure, where I can do like the renewing and finding the iPads and whatnot. And
what do you guys use? What are you guys using for BYOD, or what do they call it, mobile devices? We use Mobile Iron before. I think BlackBerry might have bought them out. Go ahead.
Well, we actually don't allow the BYOD on our network. We have a guest network, so that they can use the just the internet side of the network, but we don't have a bring your own device on our network, just because of the data that's there, the student data and the health data.
Yeah, so protected. Yeah, I'm surprised you guys don't use a guest network for that, for iPads and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. We have a guest network for people to bring their own stuff and sign on, but they have no access to any of our files or anything like that. So if they need internet and they need to use our internet stuff, they can use their phones and iPads and stuff like that. But teachers, and whatnot can't go in there and access any of their files that's on the network, or any of the I guess the backroom data.
Yeah, all the sensitive information. That's right. So you guys got a VLAN set up where you are you're kind of network segmenting non-school assets from the actual assets itself. That makes sense. So this is from Microsoft. This is the exam AZ103, Microsoft Azure Administrator. So this has made up for the last two exams that they've retired out. So when you pass this exam, you're automatically a Azure administrator. So you're a cloud administrator at this point. Everything is moving to the cloud. Microsoft has this long plan to actually move everything into the cloud. Office 365 was first, and then comes Azure, and then everything else will follow suit later. So if I was getting out of help desk, this is the places I would actually be going is Microsoft Azure. Most companies that have Microsoft infrastructure currently on their prem will eventually move off the prem into the cloud. It's just a matter of time. It's not an if, just a matter of when. So I would definitely look at this. Drop that in the chat. I do believe that, well, let me, yeah, I do believe that, oh, it doesn't.
While we're on this subject, the Amazon Web Services, I've noticed that there are companies that are also using that. Have you guys seen a lot of companies or anything out there that are using AWS as a cloud service?
Oh man, we use AWS for everything. We're pretty much an AWS shop.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The only thing we use Microsoft for is, Microsoft services, Office 365, AD in the cloud. So it makes it easy for transitioning and stuff like that. So you can kind of, if you make any corporate acquisitions, you can kind of plug them in and whatnot and through that infrastructure. It's actually pretty robust.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Too bad Christian can't get on. I know he's busy. Christian's another guy in the Midwest doing IT work. Let me see. What do you have right now, Gabe, in terms of certifications? What's hot on your table, or if you have anything in mind? I think Gabe might be away. All right, let me get to this next one right here. So let me get to the items on the docket. That's not what I'm looking for.
While you're doing that, I'd like to answer a question that was in the chat.
Okay.
I think it was Maddox said, why not get Pen Plus or another security cert? I think because of the role that I'm in right now, I'm trying to concentrate. I'm focusing on moving up to the next level where I'm at first. And that's why I'm going for the SysAdmin, so I can get my hands on. Once I get into that role, then I'll be able to actually play with the servers and use the like the Wireshark type software and stuff like that for a higher level security positions or anything like that. But I want to get my hands in there first, because it's going to do me no good to go the full security route right now and then not have any experience in the sysadmin role, trying to get into a position in the security position.
When did you get into help desk?
I've been there. February will be my 3rd year.
All right, you're right. You're right for leaving. So this is actually a good time for you to get out. So yeah, get those certs, man. I can't stress enough. We got Nagone 11, Sigma Jones, and we got Gabe back, man. Welcome to the panel.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem, fam. You have anything you want to add to what you've heard so far?
Yeah, you know, I actually saw a notification for this live stream yesterday, and I definitely wanted to listen in because I just recently been moved to a help desk position.
Okay.
And right now, and this help desk is actually kind of unique because the company that I'm working for kind of had ties in with the government. So I'm actually acting as a help desk for a lot of government agencies across America and even a few internationally. So one of the first things I did this week is kind of sit down and talk to the manager because I really, I really kind of put a goal for myself that I want to be able to move up to system admin or network engineer within 3 years. And one of the things that he stressed to me at this moment, he was like, because I told him I was studying the A plus certification, CompTIA A plus, and he told me just to forego that and start studying for the CCNA.
Okay.
And the reason being is because the CCNA, I guess the new exam coming in February is going to be more consolidated. So it's not just focus on saying CCNA routing and switching or CCNA security. So they're going to tie in a good portion of all of those aspects into one exam.
Mm-hmm.
And he said with that, that will actually give you more credibility as far as on the job market as well as within my own company. Because once you get your help desk, or excuse me, get your CCNA,
Mm-hmm.
immediately they will start to look for openings for a system admin and network engineering. So definitely that's where I'm at this moment. But I definitely wanted to listen in as far as brothers who are in similar positions or came from similar positions and how you guys go about it.
You can talk to Mike. Mike actually is currently in that role 3 years in. You have anything you want to add, Mike, to what he's been saying?
Yeah, if he could, what was that last question that he just asked?
Oh no, it was just mainly just asking like for those who have currently been in the help desk position and currently moving to the CCNA studying and everything. Um, just kind of getting some ideas of how you went about it, as far as studying for the CCNA, and maybe getting some other coding aspects to kind of help boost your certifications.
Right. So I got my certs before I got into this position. And so I was able to just really focus on each cert as I went through it. But there are a lot of online, as far as for the CompTIA, there's a lot of online resources, I guess. I would say one of my favorite, I guess, study guides that I used that was outside of the norm. There was the Professor Messer YouTube site. He actually does like a free study thing on YouTube once a week where he'll ask questions from his YouTube channel and then give you time to answer. And he bases his whole study courses off of the CompTIA. What is that the chart that they give you for each test, like what he just had laid out for the Linux Plus or the Linux server.
Objectives.
Yeah, the objectives. He actually, all his questions come directly out of the CompTIA objectives for whatever cert he's studying.
Okay, cool.
So that really helped me with my man, I'm sorry, my brain's dumping. But with the addresses, IP addresses and whatnot, it really helped a lot because all the places, like all the teachers that I had and whatnot, everybody taught it a different way. And the Professor Messer was able to break it down in the most layman's terms for me, the subnetting. All right. And that's something that you definitely want to know, even though there are resources out there. There's software that'll do the subnetting for you and all that. But if you're taking a test that has subnetting questions on it, you definitely want to know at least how to break it down. And he had a really layman's terms way of breaking it down that actually helped me out a lot.
Yeah, I would say, Sigma, take your time, man. Get acclimated with the environment, get comfortable, build up your confidence while you're in that environment. I see a lot of people try to jump from help desk in like 6 months to like a sysadmin role and completely bomb out. And what happens here is you shoot your confidence down, or you lose your confidence because you weren't prepared. You weren't really versed on the role that you were currently in. It's not uncommon in help desk that people stick around for 12 to 18 months. That's usually a good time. Mike has been in the role for 3 years. That's pretty normal. And he's actually long in the tooth right now in terms of getting out, but he's taking his time. So that's pretty typical.
Okay. So it even, because another thing too, in my situation, I've actually been approached by a manager for tier 2 help desk, and even though I'm still getting the hang of things with tier 1, I guess because he liked my skill sets coming in as far as like SQL coding, he's interested in seeing if I would be willing to make the transition within like 6 to 8 months to go into tier 2. So kind of listening into what you guys are saying, it probably would be best to still stick around, but like maybe move up to tier 2 in the help desk to still kind of get that overall view of the experience and things that will translate later on into a system admin.
Let me give you an example, Sigma. Right now, we're rolling out brand new laptops with Windows 10, trying to come off of Windows 7 and Windows 8. We have 100,000 laptops and desktops that need to be transitioned. That's going to take at least 2 or 3 years. So you understand what I'm saying? That experience of rolling out the laptops and setting up the new ones and connecting to new networks and iPads and Samsung Galaxy tablets and stuff like that. All of that stuff is going to take some time. So I would, put emphasis behind some of the work that you're going to be doing, jot it down, go to events, local events on Meetup and stuff like that, shake hands, FaceTime matters, handshakes matter, because that's going to open up other opportunities too, because you never know, a year from now, some guy that you met, some person that you met says, hey, we have a data center position that is going to be opening up, and that can be your exit right out. Bring you into a data center, have you doing some racking and stacking, some network configuration, some server decommissioning, some server rollouts and stuff like that, because everybody's moving to the cloud. Everybody's trying to, put all their ducks in a row. So that's the sort of things that's going to come down the pipeline. You being in the IT position that you're in the help desk role. So.
Okay, cool. And even then, like, you can, for me at least, still like study, take my time studying for the CCNA, but at the same time, like you were saying, networking with other IT specialists, especially those in system admin, and just kind of learning the job, especially, tier 1, tier 2, and getting comfortable in that before moving up. Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I think that I took my time, man. I went to school at night, but I worked in the daytime. So I got my bachelor's when I was while I was still working. So got into information security. So
yeah, I was gonna say I'm back. I was having some technical difficulties.
Yep.
Definitely studying for the CCNA. That was coming from a very kind of pure engineering background. We don't really learn a lot about like security or networking or system administration. So I took at least like 3 or 4 months just kind of ramping up on my like operating systems and administration. I took another about 2.5, 3 months to study for my CCNA. So it really was some ramping up that took place before I kind of jumped into the exams, just making sure I had all the information down.
Cool. We got High Tech Career on the panel as well. What's going on, bro? Can you
Nothing
hear
much.
us?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, bro. What's going on?
Okay. Thanks for inviting me on.
Yes, sir.
Like I said in the chat, I have been in insurance for a number of years. I still have my license for life.
You might want to
home.
mute your live stream if you have it on.
Mute my live. It is muted.
Okay.
You still hear echo or something?
It's gone now.
Okay. Like I was saying, I've been in insurance for a number of years. I still have my license for home, auto, life, actually.
Mhm.
And I decided I really wanted to do IT. I had did an IT role before a number of years back. I did help desk, and I had a Novell administration
Wow,
certificate
way back, huh?
way back in the days.
Yeah.
Actually, the backdrop on that was basically there was a free program. I live in Detroit.
Okay.
There was a free program in Detroit from the state of Michigan where you could go and get a Novell certificate or get the training for a Novell certificate cert. And they gave you the first time taking a test, they pay for it. So I went ahead and did that. I ended up getting a job with H&R Block Financial Advisors. And I did that for a while. Personally, for me, it was kind of a bad experience as far as racism. I had a real bad experience with that. And my family is either in half of my family is involved in construction, the other half is involved in insurance. So I went ahead, started doing insurance. And like I said, I did that for a number of years. But as time went on, I was kind of thinking about what am I going to do next? I've been selling insurance for a while. Do I want to get my own agency? Do I want to move into something in the background, like doing claims or something like that? And just the idea of doing claims seemed just extremely boring to me, to be honest with you. And I just wanted to have some type of job or career that was stimulating intellectually and something that could, basically get me ready for the coming job apocalypse. That was another aspect that I was looking into. Basically, the way I look at it from insurance, 10 years from now, the insurance agent will be like the dinosaur, if not sooner. Especially what I was seeing. Like, I remember maybe 10 years ago, you would have an office, multiple employees, dozens and dozens of people coming in and out of the business every single day. As of last year, when I left, barely anyone ever coming in, only having maybe 2 or 3 employees at best, everything being done online. So I saw where this was going. So I decided to enroll in a program. There's a community college near where I live at in Ann Arbor, Michigan, Washington Community College. I enrolled in a program for a certificate called the Computer Technology Systems Certificate. And I'm just wrapping that up now. I could have gotten it sooner, but just with work, wife, kids, family, everything else, it just took me a while to finish it up. So I'm just now finishing that up, and I'm looking to see, where I want to go next as far as education and certification. I've been on a contract help desk job now for 8 months. So that's where I'm at with that. And, this program, this topic you guys are doing is right up my alley. That's why I had to tune in.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. I get a lot of these questions a lot in my email, man. The entry level stuff is really, really big. I would say it's probably 80% of what, what the bulk of my email is. Where people ask, for mentorship and stuff like that. So I figured we have to really go back to the roots, man, of this stuff, man. Everybody starts off at help desk at one point in time. That's just the nature of it. Help desk is always that stepping stone, and I think that we kind of overlook, the value behind the help desk, man. It teaches that customer service skills, and you get a lot of play time to, resolve issues and investigate issues and stuff like that. You may not be even the person who does the resolution, but you might be the person who escalates up, right? So you're the first line of defense in most cases. So let me jump to this article real quick because I think it's poignant for this discussion. All right, this one is from redhat.com. How to identify a strong sysadmin job applicant. When a company looks for new resources with skills in a specific focus area, especially in IT, the challenge is on. Why? Because only a few in the company, if any, have even a vague notion of how to verify the skills they are looking for. The work of a system administrator is a key function, and if it goes wrong, the very existence of the company is at stake. You can easily search the web to find specifics for a system administrative function and find results with reasonably well-described supporting details. The listed skills might require the applicant to be certified in XYZ software, install and configure Linux systems, perform system maintenance, create system backups, monitor system performance, provide technical support and guidance, maintain system security. So we talked about this earlier, right? Linux, right? 70+% of server systems, backend systems run on Linux. Provide technical support and guidance. That you guys coming from the help desk, this is going to be very important to you. All the rest of the stuff is stuff that you learn on the fly, creating system backups and monitoring system performance. You have dashboards that's going to help you with that. The skill list is often followed by bullet points regarding capacity planning and budget restrictions. Then the job listing generally states a set of company values that the candidate should feel comfortable with and preferably follow. However, the focus is inevitably on the technical skills, and technical questions are used to establish the face behind the mask. While this article is about personality, it is worth mentioning some basics around technical skill sets and expectations. Take certifications, for example. The fact that a candidate is certified is proof that the foundational skills are present. Remember, we talked about certifications, the importance of it. The Red Hat Certified System Administrator, RHCSA exam at EX200 is a great start. If there are additional certificates, accreditations, or courses for target products like Red Hat Satellite with Red Hat Insights or Red Hat OpenShift Administration, these also add to the picture. However, the fact that a candidate is qualified on a technical level is just the foundation. To be honest, the certificate only represents around 20% of what you are looking for. Since a sysadmin is a pivotal role in an IT environment, there are additional skills that are essential, such as collaborating with others, a desire for continuous learning, and being well organized. Also, if the technical candidate was part of a team or perhaps just in a supporting function, the real hands-on experience may not be there. Some candidates exaggerate their skills, which makes it even more important to find out if the stripes have been earned in lessons learned. Soon, we will explore how to establish what is real experience and what isn't. One way of assessing technical skills is to look at the candidate's online activities. No, I'm not talking about Facebook. This process is about technical forums in relation to the intended sysadmin role. Ask which forum the candidate is active in and what call sign or name the candidate is using, so you can look for articles, questions, and comments. This practice will tell you a lot about the person. Also, ask if the candidate is active on places like Enable SysAdmin, or perhaps they are active in or following the Linux Foundation. We just talked about this. I linked you guys to that to the site. Besides these options, there are many sysadmin communities, so stay open and explore their online hangouts to see if the candidate is a contributor. Engagement on GitHub or the Inside Playbook blog for Red Hat Ansible Tower could also be good. Gabe talks about GitHub a lot, so they're right on the money. What makes up the personality of a system administrator, or indeed any colleague, is the building blocks that you will or are forced to interact with on a daily basis. Here are some areas you should pay attention to in order to profile a candidate. Use these points sensibly, and they should help you get a good understanding of the candidate so you can make a well-informed decision. All right, collaboration, continuous learning, structured reliability, identifying warning signs. There are things to look for, and there are things to look out for. Some of the warning signs are always busy, but few results. This issue can be a sign of being less of an expert or worrying about being exposed as an amateur. This type of person is often difficult to get a hold of and is usually not very open in nature. No point in me explaining. This patronizing attitude puts an end to any form of collaboration or discussion. The interesting thing is that this attitude has more than once proven to cover for a lack of skills or a thirst for more power. The SysAdmin position can become that of ultimate power where everyone, including the business, is controlled or rather blocked by an unwilling system administrator at the wrong end of a change or business opportunity. Overly ambitious or a yes man, constantly taking on more work or being a higher performer might be one of the most challenging situations a system admin can end up in. As time progresses, this attitude leads to stress, confusion, errors, and delay, simply because there is too much going on at the same time. The person is literally digging a hole from which it's not possible to get out. Secret security. There is a special type of sysadmin that focuses very much on security, but unfortunately got the t-shirt on backward. They tend to implement security features without documenting them in order to keep things safe. This type of person is often less prone to collaboration and openness. So I agree with this. The warning signs. This is very important. There are a lot of guys, and I said this to you guys earlier, that there are people who want to go from help desk after 6 months and jump right into a sysadmin role and have they are neck deep in something that they have no idea what they're doing. So this article is really, really spot on. I agree with it 99% of it. So anybody have any thoughts on what's been talked about? Oh, maybe my mic was off this whole entire time.
No, we can still hear you.
Anything you want to add to this, Gabe, or anything you have?
Yeah, kind of along some of those same lines. I know it was speaking about being or participating in certain forums and kind of being in certain communities. I think another way to kind of be a bit more, I guess, have more exposure is to kind of do certain things that will allow you to bypass several of those IT filters. So one example is like pretty much like, this is what I've done several times, go on LinkedIn and look at different job posting requirements. So literally looking at jobs that I desire to get at or I desire to apply for, and look at some of the requirements and kind of where areas where I see that I have, but my resume or my LinkedIn profile doesn't necessarily communicate, I'll start to edit my profile based upon the jobs that I'm looking at getting. And also with certifications, that kind of is something, because I know you asked earlier, Mike, of somebody who would desire, like, what's your next certification? I do it by looking at job requirements and I kind of reverse engineer it, right? I look at what the jobs that I'm looking to get, what the certifications are for those roles. And then that's how I see the one that I want to get next. Because if I see that there's some gaps between where I'm trying to go and where I'm currently at, I will allow my certifications to kind of draw that roadmap for me. So a lot of times, so as an example, so in my particular position pertains several of certifications, definitely within security. Probably I might or might not get it, but a lot of the roles, the next roles that I'll probably look at is like a senior manager role or a security director type of role. A lot of times they have either a master's and a CISSP certification. So those will probably be my next certifications that I'll look at getting. Because right now I'm in the master's program. I don't have a lot of time to dedicate towards the CISSP, but I know that that's like the baseline requirement for the next role that I'm trying to get at. So I think that that's a nice little strategy to try to figure out where I want to go next. Yeah.
Yep. CSIM as well, Certified Information Security Manager from
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times that's in government roles. Let me tell you, I don't want nobody government looking at my I just am done with government specific roles. But yeah, I definitely know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also you have their CISO as well. So CCISO.
Yeah.
Is
with EC Council. I mean, not with EC Council, with is that with EC Council or CompTIA?
EC Council.
Okay,
it was discounted this Monday as well. So
yep.
Yeah, but that's actually Gabe is talking about something really a really good strategy, and I've used that strategy as well. So I look at the roles that I think I might be applicable for, or what LinkedIn says you might be a good match for, and I look at it and they'll probably say like, well, 5 out of the 10 items or skill sets you have to this role, and I'm looking at this in reality, like I can do this without no problem. But it's just that the skill set did not match up with it because I did not have a lot of the buzzwords added to it. And I think that's off LinkedIn. But he's right about this. You want to take several of those job postings and kind of strip it down and look at, okay, so what is it that they're looking for? What skill set is it that they're looking for? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Usually if it's a really good job description, it's weighted, right? So it'll say like 10% of this, 20% of the time is going to be doing that, 50% of the time is going to be doing this. They're usually pretty descriptive about how much time you're going to spend doing each and every single task. So I would look at those roles. We'll probably look at a couple tonight. I think Nagone 11 does have recs on the table that reflect a lot of this. So he can probably speak to that when he gets out of the gym. But what Gabe said is actually bang on the money. That's exactly how you get it in. Let me get to this next article real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on articles, but I do think that they're relevant. RedHat.com, life as a Linux system administrator. If you're thinking about becoming a system administrator or continuing your career as one, you should read this excerpt from one system administrator's experience. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm going to skip past a couple of paragraphs. Linux system administrator. Linux system administration is a job. It can be fun, frustrating, mentally challenging, tedious, and often a great source of accomplishment and an equally great source of burnout. That is to say, it's a job like any other with good days and with bad. Like most system administrators, I have found a balance that works for me. I perform my regular duties with varying levels of automation and manual manipulation, and also do a fair amount of research, which usually end up as articles. There are 2 questions I'm going to answer for you in this article. The first is, how does one become a system administrator? And second, what does a Linux system administrator do? All right, becoming a system administrator. Since there's no Linux system administrator college major and no real learning track for Linux system administrators, how does one become a Linux system administrator? Most Linux system administrators, SAs, entered the field by accident. No, seriously, just ask me. Just ask one. Some SAs took up Linux as a sideline to their duties as Unix system administrators. As interest in adoption grew in the late 1990s, as Linux became a data center standard and the various Unix flavors waned in popularity, those who dabbled in it were converted to Linux administrators out of need. For new Linux system administrators, many enter the job from their interest as home enthusiasts, gamers, and clandestine administrators of college servers. This is how it happened for me. As soon as I saw Linux for the first time in 1995, I was hooked. By January of 1996, I had started the local Linux users groups here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Much to the chagrin of Unix special interest groups. USIG. My beginnings with Linux were rocky. I first ran across Linux in a magazine where I could purchase a 2 CD set in early 1995 when I worked at WorldCom. Yes, that WorldCom. I installed a group FTP download server for my desktop support group coworkers. A few weeks later, I was told by one of the gurus in another group We don't allow Linux on our network. I wasn't convinced, of course, that it mattered that what was allowed and what was not. So I kept the server, but installed Samba on it and changed daemon header information to make it look like my little system was a Windows server. After I left the desktop support group, I moved on to Windows domain administration. I installed a Red Hat Linux 4.0 system that I also hid under my desk for from prying eyes. I also installed Samba on it to fool the network probes and my annoying team leader who once asked, what is that Linux server doing for us? My answer was, it wasn't doing anything for us, but it's doing a lot for me. I use it for research. I kept the Red Hat Linux system until I moved to a different group. Linux was still not allowed on the network. I still didn't care. Yes, I was defiant and terrible, but I was also not going to sit around messing with Windows 3.11 and Windows 95 while the rest of the world embraced Linux. So even this guy here is saying he was in desktop support. So just to give you all who are listening to this an understanding of, everybody comes from that sort of perspective that I've spoken to and that I've had run-ins with in the IT game. So even getting the lug started was difficult. I had only 8 people who were interested, and it was very frustrating. After almost a year of being too frustrated to continue, I passed the lug torch to another group member. The Tulsa Linux user group is still going today and meets once a month on the University of Tulsa campus. They still have Install Fest and a lot of activities. And center that once didn't allow it, it's no longer WorldCom, but some iteration of Verizon. The same people work there, and none have ever apologized for their behavior, nor have they said, hey, Ken, you were right about Linux. I'm not going to hold my breath waiting either. So let me just jump to this. So what is a Linux system administrator does? A Linux system administrator wears many hats, and the smaller your environment, the more hats you will wear. Linux system administration covers backups, file restores, disaster recovery, new system builds, hardware maintenance, automation, user maintenance, file system housekeeping, application installation and configuration, system security management, and storage management. System administrator covers just about every aspect of hardware and software management for both physical and virtual systems. Oddly enough, you also need a broad knowledge base of network configuration, virtualization, interoperability, and yes, even Windows operating systems. A Linux system administrator needs to have some technical knowledge of network security, firewalls, databases, and all aspects of a working network. The reason is that while you're primarily a Linux system administrator, you're also part of a larger support team that often must work together to solve complex problems. Security in some form or another is often at the root of issues confronting a supporting team. A user might not have proper access or too much access. A daemon might not have the correct permissions to write to a log directory. A firewall exception hasn't been saved into the running configuration of a network appliance. There are hundreds of fail points in a network, and your job is to help locate and resolve failures. Linux system administration also requires that you stay on top of best practices, learn new software, maintain patches, read and comply with security notifications, and apply hardware updates. And SA's day is very full. In fact, you never really finish, but you have to pick a point in time to abandon your activities. Being an SA is a 24/7, 365 job, which does take its toll on you physically and mentally. You'll hear a lot about burnout in this field. We at Enabled SysAdmin have written several articles on the topic. The hardest part of the job, doing the technical stuff is relatively easy. It's dealing with people that makes the job really hard. That sounds terrible, but it's true. On one side, you deal with your management, which is not always easy. You are the person who gets blamed when things go wrong, and when things go right, it's just a part of your job. It's a tough place to be. So you guys coming from help desk will have that, you know, that sort of tenacity to deal with people because you've been dealing with them the whole entire time. So you'll take that sort of experience and that skill set with you into being a sysadmin, like this article is saying, like Ken is saying in the article. Coworkers don't seem to make it life better for this essay, for the essay. They should, but they often don't. You deal with lazy, unmotivated coworkers so often that you'll feel that you're carrying all the weight of the job yourself. Not all coworkers are bad. Some are helpful, diligent, proactive types, and I've never had the pleasure of working with too many of them. It's hard to do your work and then take on the dubious responsibility of making sure everyone else does theirs as well. I remember that Gabe was one of our panels in the past, and he talked about being like a security architect, something to that effect, and that you know, there was another person who was under him who could have helped from a junior role, but they were, you know, they were kind of useless. I don't know if Gabe is.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so when I was working as a security architect, I didn't really have a lot of support. It was pretty much I was doing the junior roles, responsibilities along with my own roles responsibility because the support just wasn't there. The individual just didn't have a skill set in order to really assist. A little outside the realm of the system administrator, but yeah, having the skill set conversation still applicable for sure.
And then there are users, the bane of every SA's life, the end user. An SA friend of mine once said, you know, this would be a great job if I just didn't have to interface with users. Agreed, but then again, with no users, there's probably also not a job. Dealing with computers is easy. Dealing with people is hard. Learn to breathe, smile, comply if you want to survive and maintain your sanity. This is very true. I know a lot of guys, a lot of people who are introverts in IT. They just want to sit in their little corner or in the back room. Don't bother me, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They do not like to converse at all. It's one of the natures, one of the flaws of human nature, you know, being an introvert. All right, wrapping up. Being a Linux system administrator is a rewarding job. It carries with it a great deal of responsibility. It is sometimes unpleasant. It is sometimes really fun. It's a job. Linux system administrators come from a variety of backgrounds. They are among IT's most creative and interesting people as well. I've known system administrators who were visual artists, chefs, brewers, filmmakers, writers, furniture makers, sword fighters. I don't know about sword fighters. Martial artists, and a dozen other oddball hobbies. System administration isn't easy, nor is it for the thin-skinned. It's for those who want to solve complex problems and improve the computing experience for everyone on their network. It's a good job and a good career to explore. So these articles, these last couple of articles really bang on a lot of the discussion that we've been having tonight. So guys coming from the help desk, you know, this is what you're going to run into. So I dropped the link from Linux Foundation. The sale ends on December 10th. Make sure you jump on that deal. Today's the 7th. It ends on the 10th. $189 for a certification. You can't really beat that. Actually, you can get both. Here let me share my screen. So if you're looking at my screen, it says the Essential of Linux System Administrator LFS 201 and LFS 211. So it's certified system administrator and certified engineer, so system engineer as well. So you can get both for $350. I don't know any certification right now that's going on the market that you can get 2 certifications for $350. If you had to pay for it in full, it'd be $998. Let me make sure I drop that link in the chat for you all. Mm-hmm. Let me drop the link in the chat. Anybody have anything they want to add to this, what they've heard so far?
I just want to say this is some very good information for me, at least. You know, somebody who is going to be starting off right now at the help desk now. It kind of gives me a good idea of as far as personality wise, and also too as far as coding. It seems to be that Linux is definitely something that's going to be a huge factor later on down the road. So I'm definitely going to be keeping that in mind along with Python and SQL. But honestly, these two articles, for me at least, great insight. Definitely will be bookmarking those so I can keep those in handy moving forward.
Mike, you got anything you want to add?
No, I was just gonna say, I wish I had found this years ago when I started, so that I would have had a little bit more insight into where I wanted to go, or at least somebody to point me in the right directions. But yeah, like these articles and stuff like this is what we need, and we need to push more people in this direction. And so you guys, the way that you guys have structured this, it caught my eye right away, and I hope that we can get more brothers in here and doing this, whether it's from a coding side or administration side. We need to get people in there, and you guys are doing really good stuff, man. I just want to say I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you, man. I think that we as a people, man, we should be dominating IT in America. There's 964,000 recs open right now in IT that are unfilled. There's 1 million Black men that are unemployed. We should be dominating this field.
Yeah, I've been but when I heard you guys say that the first time, and I remember 4 or 5 years ago when they came out with that big number of all the jobs available, and then I remember hearing that a long time ago, thinking, man, I better get in on this before I lose out. And then I heard you guys a couple of weeks ago say it again, and I was like, wow, like this is where we're at still. So I've been pushing this on my when I do my streams, and pointing people in your direction, saying, hey, go over here. These guys, they know what they're doing. They got a lot more information than what I can give. And so again, man, like you said, we do need to get a lot more people in here, man. I've been trying to push people. Every one of my barber clients is you see their eyes perk up now when they when I tell them, it's like, hey, there's 1 million jobs available right now. Right now, today, you could go out and find a job if you know what you're doing. And so people do have the interest, but they do have that presumption of what working in IT means, and they kind of have that sitting in a cubicle facing the old school pictures of like what we had in the Matrix when the dude is in his little cubicle with the old school machine and stuff. That's what they envision when they hear IT.
Terminal code.
Yeah, right.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, when we talk about solving, the employment crisis in the Black community, this is one way that we can actually do it. 964,000 recs as of October of 2019 are on the table. Gone 11 has a dozen recs on the table that he can't fill. Can't find enough, Butter Lake hats that are skilled enough to fulfill these roles. They're just sitting on the table. These are high paying roles too, in the tri-state area.
Yeah, and kind of just adding to that point, I think you mentioned something very important, Mike, is that not only being in the roles or in its field, but actually dominating. And one thing that I've seen, and I think that a lot of things that brothers should also look towards, is not only just getting a role, but how to become almost irreplaceable in the role that you're in, right? So I found that a bit in that of specializing in something within that system administration or IT technical role. So say, for instance, you get into system administration, you can begin to start to combine with certification, start to specialize in something like cloud technology, right? So you can be a cloud system administrator. So then you start to pick up some the Azure app certifications or the AWS certifications, start to do some little side projects, start writing blogs or getting involved in certain forums where it can really be to the point where it's only a couple of you that are existent for those type of roles. So even so the point that I'm making is that not only looking at getting into a system administration role, but even looking beyond that to get to a point of where you're kind of like a one of a kind individual that have your particular skill sets.
DMV Nitro, you have anything you want to add? Welcome.
Oh yeah, welcome, gentlemen. I'm sorry. I was just enjoying the conversation. I was just I didn't want to impede on what you were saying about the system administration role, but I was just looking at it from another aspect because I started from a field engineer to more of a network admin role, and I also see the roles blending together because I was putting in the chat that like the Cisco exams, they're changing in February. And I've seen how they're like that now. They're like blending also the Linux, Python, all that in the DevOps and everything, you know. So, but also I was also saying that's also another aspect, a lot of job opportunities because you know, I started off as a field engineer and now I kind of work directly with Cisco, managing the field engineers who are doing the same activities I was doing. But also doing that is giving me the ability because there's a lot of gig economies where you can put your profile online and there's so many jobs around as long as you got a license, you know. So I just want to just, you know, put that into the conversation too.
Yeah, I definitely think that, man. You know, there's so many opportunities I see come across. Recruiters are always hitting me up. Hey, do you know anybody who can do desktop support? Hey, do you know anybody who's willing to do help desk level 3 job? That's more like a senior role in help desk. And some of these jobs are paying pretty good wages. And I'm looking at this like, hey, I might want to jump on this if I was in that field, right? If I was in that area of the market, I would actually get on there. But a lot of your help desk roles, for whatever reason, they're not being fulfilled. A lot of IT roles in general are just not being fulfilled. There's a lot of white males that are just not interested in these roles. And there's not enough H-1Bs, at 85,000 H-1B allotment. There's not enough to fulfill the 964,000 recs. There are over 1 million Black men that are unemployed. How do we get them all upskilled so that they can actually fulfill some of these roles? We should have our own little program set up. Well, they do. They have something called YEAR, YEAR-UP, which is a program that enrolls poverty-stricken people or people in the lower socioeconomic pole into these sort of 1-year programs, 6 months of schooling, and then 6 months of an internship, and then I think like 80% of the graduates actually go on to work for the organization they interned at. So they do have that. You do have NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, that does focus on PCI, which is our pre-college initiative. So that does help, guide Black people into a better place for employment. So
I know also I had covered this on over there on O'Shea's channel as it concerns like prison programs that are actually teaching individuals to code. Kind of there in the Silicon Valley area, but it's actually spread out to several other prisons. And we know that we, as African-American men, we make up the majority of the prison population in America. So they're actually teaching these individuals how to code. A lot of black males are getting out of the penitentiaries and going straight into things like internships or even doing some freelance work, primarily like that front end developer, kind of learning that JavaScript or some HTML and some CSS. So not like super duper uncommon for programming and developer roles, but very good foundational skill set for them to be able to kind of build up their capability to be competitive, even coming out of prison. So, it's really cool, like some things that are going on. But again, just like you mentioned, Mike, it's not enough. There's efforts, but those efforts are not even fighting against the deficiency of people who are skilled in these particular areas.
Yeah, could I also add one more thing too? I didn't want to interject, but
Go ahead.
yeah, in regards, like I said, it's a lot. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of programs, but if you, like I said, I realized myself, like I said, before I got my like CCNA route switch, I took classes, but until I actually took the initiative to, I took the classes and they gave me the basics, but I actually ended up just like actually doing the self-study to actually pass it,
Mm-hmm.
and then once you pass it, like I said, it's so easy to, once you get the knowledge of how to study, like I said, like, I'm sorry, but Cisco's changing the exam, so it's hard to say it now, but they still have like the white pages, like for every exam you might want to take, and they break it down by topics, and you can just Google configuration guides, installation guides for each topic, and you can well verse yourself, and I mean, I say that because that's how I passed my last exam to recertify, but it's if you have the initiative, it's ways out there. I just wanted to put that out there. So
Yeah, definitely. Let me jump to this next article from Red Hat as well. 10.
Also, King Sigma was raising his hand. Just
Oh, really? Sorry about that.
Yeah. I'm about to jump off real quick, but definitely I just want to thank you guys for this information. Like I said, for me personally, this is something that I am definitely going to keep to heart, and just hearing you guys' backgrounds and how you go about studying everything. As a brother, this is much more helpful. But thanks for having me tonight, and definitely looking forward to more talks on these subjects.
All right. You're welcome, bro, man. Anytime you want to come through. All right. Let me get to this article from redhat.com again. 10 skills every Linux system administrator should have. Learn everything you can about everything you can.
Yep.
Yeah. So Linux system administrators often morph into people who wear many hats. Sometimes you have to be a network administrator, desktop support, tech, and end user advocate. Yet you always have to be a Linux sysadmin. To that end, I've devised a list of 10 essential Linux system administrator skills that you should possess. These are in no particular order of importance. User account management. User account management is primarily responsibility of a Linux system administrator. It is also one of the responsibilities generally handed to junior level SAs. Junior level SAs have this task because it is time consuming and considered to be a low level activity. That designation is not meant to be insulting toward anyone, but user account management is not a critical function such as backup and recovery, troubleshooting, or patching. For example, if you need a user account management refresher, search enable sysadmin for posts on this topic. So going from help desk desktop support into a junior level system administrator is possible. That's what they're talking about. All right, SQL, structured query language. SQL or SQL isn't a standard SA job requirement, but I suggest you learn it. It's a good skill to know for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is to dispel assumptions that whatever problem is going on with a database server is infrastructure related. Stepping outside of your typical SA duties to extend yourself is generally a good idea to further your own career and to increase your value to a company. Learning something new is always positive. Check out Enable System Administrators poll covering this topic. So Josh is a DBA here. And so is Richard Victor Dixon. I think they're both certified DBA. So they understand the importance of being, or at least Josh talked about being a sysadmin and having that DBA skill set. So understanding SQL is actually pretty beneficial. Network traffic packet capture. One of Enable SysAdmin's authors, Anthony Critelli, recently wrote the article Packet Sniffer Basics for Network Troubleshooting, in which he describes the use of TCP dump as an essential SA skill. But regardless of the packet capture tool you use, capturing, interpreting, and analyzing network traffic is an important skill because of the security implications of the data you receive from it. Network traffic can alert you to multiple types of attacks in real time and help you troubleshoot other network problems. So this is still a part of like network administration, but they included in system administration. But this is definitely a skill set to have.
Yeah, I'm actually later, let's see, kind of March of next year, I'm actually doing a talk at a conference about that as security as it concerns like network packet captures, some analysis that individuals can do specifically for control or manufacturing type of environments. So some initial things that individuals can look at to say, hey, this looks kind of funky. This isn't something that should really be in my environment. Like if you're getting like DNS traffic from like a PLC, right? Why is a PLC trying to reach out to the internet to talk to something, right? So kind of some go-to stuff. So yeah, that skill set is very transferable to many different fields, really understanding on what's talking on your network and should those things be talking and communicating. So very valuable skill set using TCP dump, Wireshark, etc. So absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of people are not going to understand what you talked about, PLC, programmable computer, right?
Yep. Yeah, programmable logic controller. Yep.
Okay.
So these are typically like in your industrial type of environments, which they receive more lower level communications, not necessarily up so if you look at the OSI model for, so it doesn't really talk so it talks some of the application level protocols, but you're not getting a lot of IP addresses or things. So a PLC pretty much translates digital commands into physical actions. So that's probably like at the base understanding of what they are in a lot of industrial environments. So they shouldn't be talking to the internet in most cases. So
you say it's more like layer 2 and layer 1 focus.
Layer 2 and layer 1. Yep.
Well, layer 2, layer 1 is just, I'm sorry, that's medium. Never mind. Layer 2 and a little bit layer 3, but not like talking to the internet, intranet kind of thing.
Indeed. So like a PLC would typically talk to like a valve, right? So so you send a command to turn on a valve, and that command goes to some type of controller, and that controller translates that communication to the PLC to say, hey, turn the valve a certain amount of degrees to the left or something, so that it's able to release a certain amount of water or something, to give an example.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Oh, okay. That's awesome. Yeah, cool.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's like the Internet of Things kind of thing.
Yeah.
Industrial IoT.
Yep. IoT. Indeed. Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So the VI editor, an ancient and as old school as it is, the VI or Vim editor is still the editor of choice for thousands of Linux system administrators. This editor is easy to use. It's installed by default, and every system administrator should know how to use it. If you're unfamiliar with VI, check out my introductory article on using VI. The VI editor is the gold standard text editor and has been for more than 40 years. Backup and restore. There are a variety of applications and techniques that system administrators can use to back up files and directories as well as restore them. Backup, restore, and other disaster recovery activities are essential SA skills. You have to know how to back up and restore your files for your users. If you or a member of your team perform backups, you need to audit the backups by periodically restoring a few files to check your backup and restore process. So backup and restore is a part of business continuity. The ability to recover from an outage is very important. One critical case was when 9/11 happened. a lot of these companies that were working in the World Trade Center did not have a proper backup and restore or disaster recovery system in place. That changed everything in IT. I mean, everything in IT changed from that point on. Everybody had to have some kind of DRS function in place, or DRP in place, or disaster recovery plan in place. Because in an incident like that, a lot of companies lost everything. They had to start from scratch.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interject, but some technology that came off that I just learned from my data center. Like I said, they're using like OTV to where they can have, you know, 2 total sites, like one in one side of the country, one in the other, but operate as the same layer 2. So, but that is off what you're saying. I just to interject.
Absolutely. And a lot of those skill sets, right? That backup and recovery or backup and restore, disaster recovery plan, you need that in the security realm too. Because a lot of times ransomware might affect a particular organization, and you need those backups in order to be able to restore very important business functions or some type of business continuity plan for your organization. So a lot of these skill sets for a system administrator is very translatable into several different industries. And that's why, kind of speaking about that, even system administration and beyond, you can really start to dig down into some of these things that are suggested there in this, and really kind of, you know, tailor where you desire to be.
All right. Hardware setup and troubleshooting. Every sys administrator needs to know how to set up, maintain, and troubleshoot hardware systems. You need to know how to deal with hardware failures that include disk, memory, NICs, ports, peripherals, and the rare CPU that goes belly up. Even if your infrastructure is entirely hosted or cloud-based, you should be familiar with the underlying hardware and its configurations, limitations, and vulnerabilities so that you can ensure that your hosting company or provider stays on top of security. So hardware setup and troubleshooting. Intel had a meltdown vulnerability within one of their CPUs. And that caused a lot of headaches for a lot of companies because if the vulnerability was exploited, then what happens here is that it would peg the CPU at 100% and actually freeze up the system. It's a disaster. I had it at the end user point and at the server point where we started seeing our metrics go up and down because one of the CPUs inside the server actually was not compromised, but vulnerable to this. So,
and that's another thing I was saying. This is a main thing of a lot of job opportunities because even the position I'm in, we don't have enough people that are able to go on site and replace these, you know, the memory, the CPUs, and everything. And that's how I got into this position. You know what I'm saying? I started in doing that job and then progressing into operating on the servers and you know, switches and everything. So this is a lot of, you know, I know you guys work on the system admin on the OS side, but this is a big, you know what I'm saying, opportunity. You got a license, you get the basic certs, you can come in and rake up. That, like I said, so I got this job, and then I'm also able to take gigs on the side if I choose to. So,
and I'm sure Mike and DMV Nitro, you guys have run into many situations where kind of people have been on that OS side, right? And like something's wrong, something's not talking to something, the agent isn't deployed or something. They're thinking that's the problem. When a lot of times you can just go be like, oh, that Ethernet cable is unplugged, or that particular port is shut down, right?
Exactly. I start from the layer 1 and work my way up, but and then I got to start with the hardware because I mean you could have like a CPU causing a riser to act up, making sure your NICs are not responding. I mean that's how deep I go into it.
Start.
I mean,
exactly.
But it's a starting. Like I said, all that stuff, and that's why I said it's a cross train. Like I said, that's why I see both things. That's why I'm trying to learn on you guys more so because I got to brush up with my Linux and all my Python and all my OS side. Because more of the time I'm getting, you know, the hardware, the BIOS, the SIMC, the firmware up to levels.
Upgrades, all that.
I do that and just get it to where it was so I can match it up. But I've seen a lot of times where you got some guys who are not familiar with that environment, like you said, because there's so much turnover that you might have to be able to point them. Like I said, I don't know how to bring my host back into the cluster, that kind of things. You know what I mean? So That's why I said it blends into each other.
Yes, documentation comes into place with playbooks and things of that nature.
Yeah, where you get more of those junior individuals who need to have those like playbooks in order to go step by step.
Exactly.
And even upgrading firmware, like if someone does it wrong, they can brick a whole hardware device.
Exactly. But
just,
man, like I said, but it's totally different now because well, I can only talk. I don't want to. Well, I work for Cisco, so I can't tell you too much. But like I said, like you have so much firmware, like your code is so high now. But like I said, you get a replacement, and your stuff coming from the depot is such a lower code. These PCs can't even run JavaScript. You know what I mean? To even log into the old management interface to even try to upgrade. You know what I mean? So I've had the TFTP and do all types of crazy stuff to try to get stuff up to code. You know what I mean? So
let me get to the rest of these skill sets. Network routers and firewalls. It's important to know a little something about your network's inner workings. Get familiar with your network's routers and firewalls. You should examine your system configurations to decide if they are consistent with Linux system security practices, which means you should be running host-based firewalls. You need to know what, if any, firewall exceptions have been configured and which systems and their ports are exposed to the internet. If you don't have access, request a read-only account with access to all network hardware so you can query and track configurations and changes. So this is very important. I have access to Meraki from a read-only standpoint because I need to look at logs and I need to check IPs and things like that may be communicating on a network that I think may be involved in nefarious activity. So this happens very often.
Very often.
In the AWS world, in the cloud world, you don't have like this paragraph is talking about host-based firewalls like that. It's not traditional legacy hardware. This stuff is completely logical and written in code.
Yeah, with the Linux systems, you got your IP tables that you need to make sure you got your file permissions that you need to be able to check. Not too long ago for a customer, I had to get read-only access to their Panorama, so their Palo Alto Panorama firewalls, right? So I had to evaluate that, and there was some things talking to certain business groups that weren't supposed to be talking there, right? They had a port open, which was for a temporary upgrade. They didn't close that port, so those systems were talking to one another, and they knew that they shouldn't be talking, but they don't have that capability internally. That's why they called us in order to do like firewall reviews. So yeah, that skill set is very important. Sorry, I don't mean to talk so much.
Yeah. Hey, and if I can, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in too. But like on like router replacements too, I've seen that too, where they have their firewall access list set up to where you can't you might cut and paste the config into the new replacement, but just something if you're doing it and they can't communicate, you might have to go into the VTY lines and like disable the access list in there just so they can get in there and then bring it. I'm sorry, I'm just throwing stuff.
People typically just add connections and it's supposed to be temporary, but it's like you're not doing any auditing of that. But yeah,
well, there should be a change ticket or some form of ticket.
Something. Yep.
Acknowledges this that there's some form of impact. Configuration change that's going to happen impact the network. So
right. But don't even talk about third party vendors, that type of access. But yeah, I'm a back away. Back away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Network switches. As a system administrator, your servers are directly connected to the network switches, and you should know configuration details such as VLAN configurations and who has access to change those configurations. Request read-only access so that you can perform queries against all network switches in switch stacks. And because your systems all have direct connections to network switches, you need to be apprised of maintenance activities and vulnerabilities associated with the switch hardware and operating systems. I'll give you an example. This is very important too. We had to reboot. We had a vulnerability in Ubuntu on 100,000 AWS instances. We had to reboot. We had to patch and reboot every last one of them. It took 6 weeks just to reboot them. So keep that in mind. when you're talking about vulnerabilities on associated with switch hardware or even operating systems. All right, SIMs and monitoring systems. Security information and event management and monitoring systems are absolutely essential skills to know. Sure, the security folks want to maintain a tight grip on access, but you need to access to it to be able to keep a watchful eye on your systems. No one will ever care as much about the security of your systems as you do. You need to be able to query those systems and to have your own dashboard and to adjust thresholds as needed. You also need to be able to set up specific monitoring for your systems and that send notifications to you personally or to a group account or device for on-call rotation purposes. If neither a SIM nor a monitoring solution already exists in your network, I suggest exploring some open source or free software options before plunking down thousands or tens of thousands on commercial software that has a lot of functionality that you probably don't need. This is important, man. Sumo is relatively cheaper than Splunk. You probably get Sumo for about $400,000, whereas Splunk is going to cost you $2 million out the gate.
Especially for the support, even though it's free. But the commercial version isn't, Yeah, one thing I find that's very important where a lot of people, and again, talking about, so this also goes with the shortage of jobs or capabilities to fill these roles. A lot of times they don't have, like organizations don't have that internal capability. So they, at times, just as it mentions, they'll deploy some super duper expensive solution. And then they just plug it in and think that it's working, right? Like a Splunk, right? But you don't even know what logs you're looking for. You don't even know what devices that have the logging capability. Where are they pushing it? In what form? Are they pushing it in a secure manner? Definitely having your eyes on your SIM solutions, but even that capability. And a lot of brothers kind of just starting off, you can just look up Splunk, right? You can look up Sumo and kind of understand more of what this software, these tools know how to do, right? So that you'll be able to implement them in a work environment. Having familiarity is a big step towards being able to get a role in those type of job functions.
Yep. DMV, you have anything you want to add?
No, I was agreeing with what he was saying. I mean, like if you can just, like I said, hands-on is great. But I mean, if you dive into the technology, the technology, and they would ask you like the process of doing, such, like I said, and you know it. Like I said, I'm not as familiar with Splunk. I don't know if it's familiar because I do on the Cisco side. I don't know if it's like SNMP traps or call home, or whatever kind of feature that report like errors or whatever, that kind of thing. But if you know the process, you know what I mean, and like I said, and as long as like I said, just going back to what y'all said before, these job postings, they tell you the technology they want you to know. And then you can just look up the management. Like this is what you got to know, the management part of it, how to implement, and either you're going to implement it, replace it, and you just know those basic functions, or how to get in, log in, how do I check IP, just the basics. Exactly. If they know how to get in there and talk to the whatever they're asking for, you're in there, man.
Yeah.
That's it.
And most of this stuff, it just has like a server client type of architecture.
Exactly.
So you pretty much, your organization has a large hardware, some server that you install, like something like McAfee, right? McAfee EPO. And then you just push all your patches to the different agents or all of your installation to the different agents. It might be a Windows machine here, might be another one somewhere else. So just having that kind of understanding, hey, this is a server client type of architecture that can get you steps beyond what
exactly. Either you're going to be hardware side or OS side. You know what I mean? Just pick your path and dive in. You know what I mean? It's opportunity for both.
To play all roles, so.
Yeah.
Let me get to the last item on the link. Interview and other interpersonal skills. I know what you're saying. You're saying, oh, great. Someone else telling me that I need soft skills. Yes, that's what I'm telling you. Honing your interviewing skills can not only determine if you get a particular job, it can also be a major factor in the salary you get. It's true. Let's say, for example, that the salary range for a mid-level SA job is 56K to 85K per year. You might be fully qualified for the top of the range, but the company offers you 70K. Instead, and mention some nonsense about growth potential, or they tell you that they'll bring you along when the time is right. You need to practice answering questions. Answer the question that's asked. Don't give so much information that you see eyes glazing over, but giving answers that are too short will make you appear arrogant or flippant. Give enough examples of work to let the interviewers know that you know what you're talking about. They can ask for more details if they want to. You have to learn to watch other people's behaviors. Are they listening to you? Are they focused on you in the interview? Do they look as though you haven't said enough when you pause to allow them to speak or ask another question? Watch and learn. Practice with other system administrators in your group. Do you do mock interviews with the group? I know it might sound silly, but it's important to be able to speak to other people about what you do. This practice can also be good for you in speaking with managers. Don't get too deep into the weeds with non-technical people. Keep your answers concise and friendly, and offer examples to illustrate your points. So a lot of whiteboarding goes into this. The ability to go to a whiteboard and be confident and draw out diagrams and topologies of some of the stuff that you're talking about is actually pretty key. I've done this several times where I have to actually explain this stuff out. And without them even asking me, go to a whiteboard, I just go to the whiteboard, draw it out, and kind of just get straight to the point and kind of articulate what it is that has happened in a security incident. You know, what is the remediation process? What is the escalation process, and so on and so forth. Gabe, you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I was just agreeing, and just like, yeah, just be a person a lot of times, rather than thinking that you have to be just like so kind of stiff, or just this is the answer to the question, boom, type of thing, right? Because I think that they are definitely looking for individuals who can, just as you saying, Mike, can communicate these ideas to people and other stakeholders within the organization or external to the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't want to just, you want to be kind of malleable, just like you said, practice your people skills too. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, my kids were running upstairs. I had to go on mute, but I got to reiterate that, like I said, that's how I was able to get to where I'm at now, is having these interpersonal skills. Don't act like you know everything.
Right.
Don't act like you know everything, but be open. I say you have your suggestion, and you demonstrate your high level thinking. But if somebody disagrees with you, let them prove themselves wrong. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of thing. And that would also show your work when they end up going to your solution in the back end. You know what I mean? So you don't have to be so high-headed. Go with my solution off the break. So that's one thing I've learned. I just wanted to share. I'm sorry. Let me go on mute.
And you know, Mike, as you were speaking about doing the whiteboarding, while you were doing the whiteboarding, what were some of the responses that you received back from the interviewer? Were they asking questions, or were they challenging things, or like, what's that like?
Well, they were actually impressed that I can go to the whiteboard,
Yep.
right? So the other aspect is, once I went to the whiteboard, they said that sealed the deal. So,
yeah.
You know, the ability to speak about more high level things, you know, such as you know, Kubernetes security, container security, IoT, because we do have manufacturing and pharmaceuticals. So in pharmaceutical industry, you do have manufacturing. So how do you protect intellectual property and code that goes through the manufacturing?
Yeah.
What else? You know, remote users, you know, threat intelligence, you know, who are your adversaries? Who do you think is likely to come in and try to take intellectual property from you? Because that's the main thing. Sensitive information, how do you protect it? Phishing attacks. 80% of the attack surface is actually phishing. So there's a whole lot of, you know, to just take their environment from a high level, draw it out on a whiteboard, and then identify key areas of vulnerabilities. Did they patch, something as simple as Chrome? Did they do Chrome update because there was a vulnerability that could actually exploit the system? What about Windows Update? A patch that has not been actually thoroughly tested could actually break all the systems in the office. Even testing for that? Did we even have a change ticket for something like this? Are we, are we looking at, locking down something as simple as a USB port? There's a lot of companies out there that are still allowing USB ports to be USB mass storage devices to be plugged in. Get a lot of people who buy these cheap Chinese fans and things like that. Chinese fan has embedded malware in it. They plug it into their computer so they can feel cool or something like that. The system has been compromised.
And even though, so boom, like right up the same line. As soon as I went to whiteboard and started to speak intelligently about the subject matter, it was just like their eyes lit up, right? And I kind of even towards a lot of what the Black Brain Trust does is kind of bring up a lot of the news articles or the latest happenings within different fields, right? It's so important for you to know, not only know the systems, but actually know of the current events that's happening in the field that you work in. So talk about different breaches that have happened and how that would affect the organization that you will work for, specifically talking about security. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right in the same alignment with that thought process, is being able to intelligently speak of the things that are happening in your field.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to jump in real quick, but yeah, that goes in line. Notice trends, like I said, because that's what I've noticed. Like I've been able to pick up to just working on the hardware side. I've been able to bring up to higher level. It came to firmware patches. Like we had a lot of failures because of not being a disk code here. You know what I mean? So you got to keep your eye on that. Like notice, like I said, trends, a spike. Failure is going toward this. Like just keep your eyes open, that kind of thing. And if they show you show that you're invested. And like I said, it pays for you. That's all.
Usually if they bring you in for an interview, they already have a pretty good idea of whether or not they're going to hire you. The other 50% is on you to actually do, demonstrate and perform in the interview. One of the reasons why I got into this role right now is because I came from a cloud security background and from another startup. And so they were actually interested in what I knew about AWS security and Azure security, and when I gave them my synopsis on a lot of the work I've been on in terms of intrusion detection, and I came from intrusion detection background prior to that as well. They were like, pretty much, bring it on, so they were interested in that. So sometimes specializing in certain areas. I know there's people out there who their whole entire role is just being a SIM consultant, a SIM, security incident event manager, and being able to configure just a SIM in itself is a job. That's crazy how many configurations there are to a SIM, but some of that stuff is starting to change now. You're starting to see a lot more machine learning involved in SIMs. So you're starting to see anomaly detection. They can kind of pick out packets and or logs if there's some logs that are maybe behaving in ways, and
or even people bringing on vendors, third-party vendors for SIM or SOC solutions. So I know of a CISO that worked with not too long ago. He doesn't have a security operations center at all for the organization. It's all a third-party vendor that does all of the management. So all of the logs go via the cloud to this third-party vendor, and they do all the log analysis. They have their tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 security analysts, and they have incident response. So like you said, a lot of that is kind of going away with newer advancements in the field.
Right, and that's kind of what I've been dealing with, because that's what Cisco has. They have Intersight,
indeed,
where like all their integrated compute systems are all integrated within Intersight for that for that customer, multiple domains. And they run scripts on logs, and they'll pull up like, oh well, this server over in Dubai has a memory, and that kind of thing. So
I worked for FireEye, and they have what you call managed defense, right? So they do all of your SOC work, all the, like
Yep.
this literally, yep. So
But like I said, there's always got to be somebody that goes in there and replaces that hardware. That's all I
it
gotta
does,
say.
yep, all the time.
They don't have a robot to do that yet.
Yeah, a lot of that is moving to the cloud though, DMV. So a lot of companies are actually putting their security instances in AWS. And so the hardware aspect is actually being removed from it. The only thing you're probably going to have is like edge computing. So edge-based computing is basically bringing the cloud into the on-prem. Very few companies do that, but in the healthcare field, they will do something like that because they want to control where their data is going, their sensitive information is going. They don't want that stuff going to the cloud and they don't have access to it. Big no-no for them because it violates HIPAA. So that in that aspect, DMV, that you would be right if this was 2015, but in 2020, 2022, a lot of that's going to change.
So even though when it goes to the cloud, it's still running on hardware, though, right? So it's going to be.
Like
you're saying it's going to be handled in-house, is what you're saying. That's what you're saying.
In-house, like for example, we don't have any servers. Everything 100% in the cloud.
Right. Yeah. But like I said, but since I work for Cisco, I'm on the back end. So even those people who go cloud and do, you know what I'm saying, that way, they're still, their hardware is still being managed. You know, they might have the Cisco contract that manages that hardware for the cloud.
Yeah, for now, but even Google, right? Google, Facebook, they make their own servers. Right. So, you know, it's moving into that section where anything that would be replaced will eventually, you know, you won't even see it. That stuff won't even matter anymore at some point. I think after 2025, you'll probably see a lot of that stuff just come offline. We'll just move to the cloud at some point. Even right now, you know, the JEDI contract that I think Amazon and Microsoft has been battling over, they're going to remove all the government appliances, all the servers and stuff. They're going to remove all that stuff and they're going to move 100% to the cloud.
It's going to be slow though, man, because certain industries have a very slow adoption rate for newer technology. I know even with this contract, with the Microsoft contract with government agencies, that's not, man, I don't know when they're going to really start to implement that. So I'm not 100% sure.
Well, they're going to start with Exchange and getting them off Exchange and into Office 365. And once they complete that, then they'll work on all of their front end servers and stuff like that. They'll just uplift that stuff to the Azure. There's actually a tool within Azure that allows them to basically transfer a whole entire server stack into a Azure instance. Very interesting stuff that they're doing with Azure. So
specifically for like industrial control system or OT type of environments, a lot of the infrastructure or even devices, everything like the networks are air gapped, right? They don't have any connection or they don't even talk to the internet, let alone the cloud for upgrades, or all this stuff is still on premises. So because I used to work at a nuclear plant, I used to work there as a nuclear engineer, and we would literally have to scan USB drives, CD drives in order to do upgrades and patch updates on our equipment. Very old school type of thing. So that's why I say I think it's some industries that will have a much slower adoption rate, especially those who don't have any connection to internet facing services.
Yeah, so I still think it would be, if you want to get in this field, that's still a option until it scales back. You know what I mean? And I agree. Like I said, that's why I'm still starting. That's why I'm going into the DevOps. Like I said, Cisco, when they're changing, I'm going to the DevOps, and I want to go into cloud computing and still have that both. You know what I'm saying? Cross train. Like I said, I'm not poo-pooing on what you're saying. You know what I mean? But I appreciate what you're saying, that that it is the clock running on. So I'm taking what you're saying.
I'm not. I mean, most people's life cycle in their role is usually 3 years now. So 3 years or less. So you have between now and after, post 2025, that a lot of the things are going to change. We decommissioned a data center a few years ago when I used to work for Carbonite. Completely gutted the whole entire thing. No servers there at all. They've completely moved on. So that's the sort of transition. probably roughly 7 to 9 weeks to actually make that transition. So
what do you guys do with the equipment, with the hardware equipment?
I think they sent it to some kind of logistics recycler or something like that.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next item on the docket is from Coursera, Google IT Support Professional Certificate. This is the 5-course certificate developed by Google, includes innovative curriculum designed to prepare you for entry-level role in IT support. A job in IT can mean a in-person or remote help desk work in small business or a global company like Google. The program is part of Grow with Google, a Google initiative to help create economic opportunities for all Americans. Learn more. So we click on the show all. And we go down to the, there are 5 courses in the professional certificate: technical support fundamentals, the bits and bytes of computer networking. Course 3 has operating systems and you becoming a power user. And course number 4, system administrator in IT infrastructure services. And course 5 is IT security defense against all digital dark arts. So I haven't taken this personally myself because I'm not in that realm, but I have heard about people taking it and they have come out with some positive feedback about it. I can't, can't really verify, but if it's Google and it's free, let me see, is it free? 100% online courses, flexible schedule, beginner level.
Yeah, I've heard of this certification. They came out with it, I think, a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think they've been expanding it ever since. But yeah, I haven't taken it myself either. But I see it, like people have it.
Yeah, it says enroll for free. So it is free. So I think some of you guys who want to get into IT may want to look at this. Drop the link in the chat. You may want to look at that as a stepping stone. It probably counts as CPEs if you have a CompTIA certification as well. The answer Random Woman's question: they make their own servers. Yes, Google and Facebook make their own servers. They do not buy for whatever reason. They believe in kind of keeping their stuff in-house. Probably creates jobs for them, if anything else. Yeah, I think that's about it. Also, make sure you guys, if you're trying to become a SysAdmin, you should actually have a subscription to Admin Network and Security magazine. I've been subscribing to this for a few years now. I can't stress enough how much wealth of information has been posted in there. So a lot of proprietary stuff that they do that actually benefits people on the junior admin level. Vulnerable Docker instance sought out by Monero malware. And see, this is the sort of stuff that we run into in cybersecurity. A vulnerable Docker image, is problematic. That means that whatever's in that Docker space needs to be transitioned off and need to update and secure that Docker image. Traditional security doesn't really work in the cloud, so you're constantly having to write code to actually protect against certain things, or ifconfig a lot of things, and then run IP tables. You still need to have eyes on glass for a lot of things in the cloud because it's such a wild west environment. Too many moving pieces, and SDN doesn't really help software-defined networking.
Do you guys focus a lot on like web application security, just those basic, cross-site scripting and cross-site request forgery, the OWASP top 10, or is it?
Yeah, we focus on OWASP top 10.
Mm-hmm.
We do use the MITRE ATT&CK framework.
Yep, got it.
And that's it for us.
Yeah.
And then everything else is mostly just monitoring.
Yep. It's kind of what I understood too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. the attack surface, 2/3 of the attack surface is actually coming from phishing. So we spend a whole lot of our day, I would say, out of an 8-hour day, we're probably spending, 3.5 to 4 hours is going through phishing attacks and that nature, and user awareness training. So
yep, with the fish me, man, I feel like everybody's using that.
Yeah,
we have like that Microsoft type of infrastructure, the Outlook. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, it changes when people implement fish me in their environments. It changes.
Yep. Yep. They used to have something called Cisco iImport.
Okay.
I don't think Cisco iImport is used for that, but we do have Cisco Stealth Watch. Cisco Stealth Watch is actually really, really good. I would say it's 90% accurate.
Oh wow.
In its activities, because it's machine learning based.
Okay.
So it picks up any sort of behavior analysis that may be happening in the environment, any sort of change in trajectory of patterns of behavior. It would actually cut a ticket open for us. That's how we set it up. And so it does take a lot of the guesswork out. And if it is a false positive, we can kind of tune it and say, we don't want to see this again. And then it'll tune its way out. So we could tune on the fly. Discovery mode actually makes it better. Then you have something called CASB, which is a Cloud Access Security Broker.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, which actually helps mitigate against any sort of user to the cloud. So human activity to the cloud. Any sort of those flaws would actually be caught by the CASB itself.
Yeah. And I think that as we're mentioning so many of these different technologies and strategies, I mean, it really just started in like I know with me looking at a job function and just researching, right? I mean, the internet is so open with documentation on you can just Google cloud security, right? Cloud security methods, cloud security vendors, where you can really start to deep dive. So, if a lot of this information sounds a bit foreign, I mean, just kind of take account of what we're talking about and just throw it in several Google searches, and you can become just as abreast to the technologies even before you touch it. You can know it, and that's what's crazy too. Because when I first started in engineering, like everything was in books, or you had to be there on site and touch the technology in order to have a better understanding. Where now you can have that strong introduction to the technology even before you even touch it. So I find that that's like something that brothers can do tonight, and really start building their skill set and knowledge base about a lot of things.
Big facts. And I just want to say I appreciate the conversation, gentlemen. I gotta put these kids to bed. I'm sorry, they're going nuts. But yeah, I appreciate it. I look forward to the next discussion, man. And like I said, I'm definitely like I said, I was let me ask you a quick question, Mike, before I go. So I was thinking about going more toward the DevOps side for my next cert, but it seems like you're more so like cloud computing is the way. So
well, DevOps is a methodology that works within the cloud.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's more so on the application. Like I said, so going from the network side, maybe I should know, because like all the cloud is doing is virtualizing the hardware. You know what I mean? That's pretty much right.
But it's actually bringing it's actually a technology stack as a service.
Right. So I mean, so that's what I'm saying. So it might be best to start with the cloud, then work to DevOps. Is that what you're saying? Or?
You do DevOps if you're going to be doing DevOps, right? If it's applicable to your environment, right? So you can certify for DevOps, but let's say you go into a hospital. A hospital doesn't really work from a DevOps perspective. They have to really test everything before it goes out, right? Then DevOps, in DevOps, we're working in turbo, right? We're working at breakneck speed so that
okay, you're building. Okay. They want something that's already tested. Gotcha.
Yeah, we're pushing stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, maybe I should more so focus on the cloud.
What industry are you in, Nitro?
Like I said, I'm in the I work for. I started off with a vendor that did work for Cisco, but then Cisco basically bought out my contract with the company, I guess. So
dope.
For Cisco.
Okay.
So that's what I said. So I mainly manage the servers, switches, routers. I got my route switch and I got my data center certifications, even though they're all going to combine into one in February. But so like I said, I know some, the SAN switching, the LAN switching, all that kind of stuff. So I'm just trying to but he said, but now Mike has got a bug in my head, like, oh man, all this stuff is going away. Now I gotta figure out.
Well, he was mentioning that like in healthcare it might not apply, but are there other?
Well, and government, like I said, government's gonna be the last ones that
government,
adopt the technology.
Okay.
Well, in startups, DevOps is more of a startups thing, right? So everybody works at breakneck speed because they want to push the next build out, right? And so they decoupled the developer from the SysOp or the system administrator, which is the SRE, which is a site reliability engineer. And then you have your customer success or whoever it is at the end of the rollout of each and every single build. That works if you're actually going to be building code, right? You have to decide whether or not you want to be the one building the code or you want to be the one pushing the update, right? Or managing the stack itself. That's what the SRE does, a site reliability engineer.
Okay. So that probably be more so geared toward me because I'm not code heavy yet. So
Yeah.
I'm learning to be able to manage the code, but I want to be able to build, that kind of thing, to understand it, to be able to, just in the environment to what I'm doing, kind of thing.
So I came out of a DevSecOps, right? So developer security ops, right? So I played the security role or wore the security hat in the DevOps segment. So I was the guy who oversaw the security of every single build and every single push out. So I'm the guy that does the monitoring aspect of it.
And kind of even speaking about background, so I came from engineering, but then started to get more into that like network security side, where I was getting that CCNA, also got the CCNA cyber ops one, and then transitioned heavily into like a architect role, and now I'm a consultant. So I think, man, it sounds like security might be your best bet at this point. I don't want to try to sell you on it, but like I'm telling you, security is
it's funny. Everybody's pushing their own thing. Hey man, you go with this, go with that.
No, I get the security. I'm insecure, man. I'm telling you, man. Especially that networking foundation and background. I think it's probably right up your alley, man. I bet.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure, especially once these exams all cram together, I got to figure out where I want to branch out at. But I'm gonna get like a specialist here, specialist there. But I want to, dive in, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Well, what I'm thinking you may be more applicable for is this here, which is a CCNA cloud.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was saying. Either because they got a CCNA, like I said, I got to see how they have a cloud certification, and since I have the CCNA data center and it's had CCNA route switch, it's all combined to one CCNA, and I also get a CCNA specialist position. But I think the cloud is where I need to be. That's what I was trying to figure out. Because I was trying to figure out, do I worry about virtualization or do I worry about the cloud?
Virtualization is always going to be huge in the cloud. There's no way for anything.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But when I thought virtualization, I was thinking more of a DevOps thing. But I had it wrong. I'm thinking.
Yeah, so you're looking at going to that specialization, that CCNP cloud specifically, because that's what it's going to be, right?
Right. Because basically the hardware is going to transfer to the cloud, so I need to be in that specter when I'm doing shifts, so I'll be ready. And still, I want to still work on the DevOps. I want to learn the DevOps, not even work on, learn it. You know what I mean? That's something down the line because the programming just is. You know what I mean?
Microsoft has their own DevOps platform, and so does AWS, and then you have Cisco has. I think they're moving into a DevOps thing, but they're not fully they're not a full cloud vendor, right? So.
Well, they have a cloud cert, and they have a DevOps. They have a DevOps cert too.
Right.
Working for Cisco, like you get those certifications for free anyway, the training and the cert attempts. So
I get the CVT nuggets for free.
Yeah. That might be your best bet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm so. That's why I said I'm biased. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm in that camp. So,
yeah. So before you go, I just wanted to mention that CCNA cloud is actually a viable role because Cisco's network stack is starting to move into the cloud as well for some vendors. I know if you are a open stack, or if you're like somebody like Rackspace, you know, they're still using network Cisco products and Juniper products. So that still matters in that area. But for AWS, they don't use Cisco at all. They're actually anti-Cisco. So
I need to learn it.
Microsoft as well. Microsoft has their own network stack, so they'll soon be avoiding Cisco like the plague as well. So yeah, let me get to these last couple of certifications and
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off, gentlemen, because I got to put these nutballs down. I appreciate your time.
All right,
Like I
man.
said, it was a great conversation. I'll try to catch the next one.
Man, nice talking to you, man, for sure.
Yep. Same here, buddy.
yeah, peace
Take
out.
care, everyone.
Have a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We get to these next certs. This is from CompTIA. So we talked about this before: Cloud Plus, Linux Plus, Server Plus. I have all three. Well, I don't have Linux Plus because I don't work in that realm, but I have Cloud Plus and Server Plus. Want to go, if you're going to go between the two, go for Server Plus first, because it doesn't have a renewal, so it's a lifelong cert.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Cloud Plus is actually every 3 years, so, or every 2 years. So I would definitely get the both. You can't, there's no difficulty challenges between the two, because I think one focused directly on hardware and data center, and while cloud focused really on all of the technology stacks within the cloud itself. So traditional hardware versus next generation, you can get by with this with one book. I think CBT Nuggets does have SK 0.004, I think, in their catalog. And that one video is enough to pass this certification. Cloud Plus, you might need to read the book. Again, a lot of it is vendor neutral, so you won't be jotted down or asked to fulfill some of the ideals about AWS or Microsoft or Oracle or anything like that. It's vendor neutral. So both of those certs will go handy on your resume and on your LinkedIn. Drop those in there. And let me put up one more link before we get out of here. Let me answer Rainy Woman's question real quick. Mike, can those CompTIA skills be used at home as a home business? You can. It's CompTIA certs are more about knowledge. But if you're going to be working on government contracts, from my experience, Verizon says that they don't want you touching their security stuff unless you have a Security Plus certification, which I found to be very interesting. Dell, HP, Lenovo, they don't want you touching their stuff unless you have a Server Plus certification in the data center. So keep that in mind if you're going to be your own boss and you're going to run your own sort of operation, being a consultant. They like to see certifications because then that kind of makes them feel better. It's reduces in the anxiety from some people. Let me jump to this again. Okay. All right, last link. All right, this is IT exam vouchers. Save big on your next exam, Microsoft, CompTIA, Cisco. Go to CompTIA. Then you have Server Plus, and then you see that there is a Server Plus certification. So the voucher bundle, it's been marked down. I guess by $10. You all missed out on the Cyber Monday, Black Friday deals that they had. Everything was marked down considerably. So I know some people on here did jump on those. Let me see. Cloud Plus. Same thing. You probably won't see a real good sale until Christmas again, because we already passed the Cyber Monday thing. So I'll drop it in the chat anyways for those of you who are maybe interested in this. Yeah, if you're certified, Rain Woman, it could mean something for your business if you're trying to run a business. If you're just trying to have it at home and you're not working in the industry, it's not going to make any sense to take the certification. People take the certifications because it's a credential booster. Also, again, if you're trying to get in IT for the first time and want IT mentorship, we do offer IT mentorship here. If you're trying to transition from one role to another, we do offer IT coaching. If you are in the tri-state area and are looking for contract work, Nagone 11 does have IT contracts on the table in the tri-state area. Need your resume reviewed or salary negotiated. We do have some assistance on that between myself and Nagone. Gabe is also here for cybersecurity mentorship. If you have any questions about that, I do fill those roles as well. Also, Gabe has a new channel called ICS Gabe. So many people,
No, I forgot about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you have a wrench, so you should be able to drop that in there.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll post it on the community tab as well. So send you guys over there to actually jump on there and subscribe to his channel. We'll probably have to come over there and do a hangout and talk some Butter Lay stuff over there.
Absolutely, yeah, we can chop it up. Absolutely. Because right now it's just so I'm actually in the process of getting approved for that like Apple Podcast thing. So I'm kind of just uploading content right now to YouTube, just kind of starting up a podcast. Why not? But it primarily be pre-recorded, but maybe have some lives and everything going on. So, and it primarily focuses on kind of industrial control systems, cybersecurity. So, yeah, man, just trying to be Butter Lay like y'all over here, man. For sure.
Yeah, hit the like button if you've not already done so. Share the video if possible. Also, hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. Tomorrow is the final day for the TBBT, the Black Brain Trust Moderator of the Year. Make sure you all go to the community tab and vote for your choice of Moderator of the Year. The moderator of choice will get a gift certificate. So that ends tomorrow. So make sure y'all go put your votes in. I'm sounding real hood right now, y'all. But yeah, it's too bad Nagone wasn't able to engage in on this discussion. But High Tech Career, you have any final thoughts before we close out?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this was an excellent show. Like I said, this topic was something I zeroed in immediately because it's exactly where I'm at right now in this time. And, to all the brothers out there, that are either switching careers or you're starting off in IT and you're in that help desk role, this is great advice. I would go back. I plan on going back and listening to this recording again and take a note.
Make sure you start from the 10-minute mark because I had some technical difficulties and we didn't get started until 10 minutes after the live stream started.
Oh yeah, I'm from Detroit too, man. And we might have to connect pretty soon. I'm down here in Toledo right now, but yeah, it's not too far away at all.
I'm in the Ypsilanti.
Oh, you in Ypsi? All right, yeah, that's not too far. That's not too far. All right.
Definitely.
All right, peace and shalom, everyone.